Uh-oh. It appears fire from the gods ended. Trying to get the... But nonetheless. So welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, everybody. My name is The Bearded Truth. All for joining in. Here's as if I'm cutting in and out. That's kind of... let me know if the audio is not working out for you. But nonetheless, welcome in, everyone. I appreciate you all for joining in tonight. So I want to first break off and talk a little bit about the news of what updates we've got. You guys can see we've got we have now the chat popping up. The fellow friends from the YouTube world, they can also see your comments and the Periscope hammering up. So got a small upgrade there. Another big upgrade that is coming is that we have a call-in line. So we will be starting to utilize the call-in line. The basic premise of this is, of course, going to be is the audio working better now? It looks as if the audio is working better now. Oh, still not. Is this working out better for you guys? It looks like it's working out a little bit better. Am I cutting in and out? All right. So, as I was saying, still cutting out. Man. How is that? Is that working out better for you guys? I think it's working out. What a good time to be. What a good time for this. So what's sad is I'm opening it up. So the 12 is this coming out clearer for you guys? I think it is because I'm picking up everything that I'm saying. What a great time. What a great time. I'm glad that I got, I've added more tech and just had the old tech crumble away at the bits. All right. I think we've got it now fixed. So thank you guys all for bearing through that error. That issue. But it is what it is. We will continue to grind on through all of this. All up in my... If I slide this closer, it will also help. So thank you guys for joining in. And like I was saying, so we have a call-in line, and one of the things that I'm going to be doing is... There we go. One of the things that we will be doing is opening up the call line. You guys, if you guys have got another optic, another way, whether you agree or dissent with the views that I've been portraying, you guys will be... Sounds better except when it's so specific. When you guys call in, right, you guys are able to voice your opinion. If you guys agree and you guys want to expand upon what I've been saying, provide another view, or if you guys want to disagree, this is a platform now in which we can have those discussions. So I'm excited to see the people that commonly differ, be able to open it up for them to allow them to have discussion, as well as, of course, for you guys who do agree, generally agree or whatever, to come in and provide your own insight. So this is not just a platform just for me to talk, but for a platform for discussions entirely to. So thank you guys all for joining in tonight. I will be posting those. It's still cutting out in and out. Sorry about that, Ben. I will tinker with my true sound guy. That is, of course, Stefan, the great Stefan, who is he's really been able to help me out. All right. Ernie says there's no bipartisanship. The left is all or nothing. So he's getting into the first topic, and I think the first topic is going to be a fun one, and that is that President Trump, now that he does not hold the House, is actually talking about prison reform. And there's a bipartisan bill which has been structured by, co-sponsored by all Republicans, but it is gaining some Democratic support. If I could get the article to I know Rand Paul was in, so that's, the libertarians are riled up. They're like, oh, what is Rand Paul doing? Now if Rand Paul is getting involved, then libertarians are looking, at least the ones that are the ones that find Rand Paul in a favorable light. So the key Republican politicians on Senator Chuck Grassley, Lindsey Graham, Mike Lee, Tim Scott, Rand Paul, and Representatives Goodlatte and Collins, all Republicans, but it's being deemed as bipartisan because there are Democrats that do support it. And it wasn't named exactly which Democrats were involved with this, but it's a good piece of legislation that's going to hopefully reform the way that it's all working and reform the way that our prison systems work. So the biggest thing that I've seen from this bill is that it's actually opening it up for borderline the removal of the mandatory minimum. So since, you guys know me, I'm my views. If a judge sees somebody that is being charged with a crime of having a little bit of marijuana or having a little bit of cocaine or some form of drug, and the original minimum mandate was 20 years, 30 years, 40 years for just having enough for, a good long 4-day weekend for some people, he doesn't have to provide that anymore. And so this allows for judges to lessen the charges based on the case that's in front of them. And I think that this is definitely a big move for the future. Of course, that's not all encompassing of everything that's discussed in this bill. But my takeaway is that that's certainly the biggest one. And is it the perfect bill? No, it never will be. That's what we're seeing from a lot of the opponents of this bill, is that it doesn't do enough. It doesn't. It works on the back end of these crimes, and it doesn't work on filtering out or helping the school to prison pipeline, so to speak, or it doesn't help people not get involved with this. And that's certainly another beast that needs to be tackled. But I think for a pragmatic person, for somebody who has been critical of the prison system and the way that it's been structured and the way it's formed, I think that this certainly is a positive spin. This is certainly something that we will see be better in the long term. And I think that what we should be seeing is the Democrats who have been notorious for their Trump derangement syndrome in the past. I think it's going to be, now that they have the House, now that they have a solidified say in a lot of the legislation, I think that this is a time that we can have some unifying between the political parties, and them coming on board with this, supporting this, would make large moves towards unifying the country some bits, because this is something that the Democrats have been speaking about a lot more than the Republicans have. And I think overall it's a good transition, good move, and I'm excited to see the results from it. I'm excited to see how it's expanded upon. Like I was saying about the opponents saying that it's not doing enough. The problem is that they're saying it's not enough, therefore I'm not going to get on board. I'm going to do something better in the future. When I think the better answer for America is to say this doesn't do enough. I support it, but when I come into power, when Democrats come into power, or when Republicans come into power, whoever wants to take it to the next step and provide more reformation, provide a better service through the judicial process, that they say when we get in, right, this small little reform, as good as it did, we are going to expand it. We are going to grow it. We are going to make it make a much larger impact, and we're going to work on, getting people out of the system for victimless crimes. We're going to get people and work with communities and work towards removing that school to that school to prison pipeline. We have to, so that's a good way for the Democrats to not only support this bill, advocate for unifying the country, but then also be able to say in the future, this still is not enough. Use that as a campaign. This is something that Democrats should be doing, and I'm worried that they are not. I'm worried, genuinely worried, that is not in their optics. We'll have to see how all that plays out, but it's certainly a huge issue. So I think the only way a libertarian will come into power is with the guys. I mean, we still have pretty clearly open libertarians within the Republican Party. Rand Paul, Justin Amash, Thomas Massey, they are all libertarians, and they're known to be libertarians. And it's not an issue. And I don't think that they really pull the guys over themselves to come in. But back to this legislation, I think it's really, really a good piece. I do want to open up, as I told you guys before, I do want to open up the phone lines to you guys. So, further ado, let me pull up the call-in number. If you guys want to call in, phone number is 802-671-5328. I want to hear what you guys think. We want to hear your thoughts on this piece of bipartisan legislation, whether you guys disagree with it being bipartisan, whether you have issues, or if you just agree with it. So feel free to call on in, and we'll take you in as soon as you do. So I would, I realize I've simplified this bill in so many different ways, but it is a huge reform. And even people like CNN Van Jones and Jared Kushner, they had a discussion over there on CNN, and the two of them really brought together a unifying discussion. They brought together a discussion about the ideas and about how to make it better. And so seeing that growth has been nothing but beneficial for it. If Van Jones and Jared Kushner can, it's going to be difficult to say that this is necessarily destructive to one party or another party, right? It's only seemingly a beautiful thing. And I, as a libertarian, as somebody who's advocated against the state and been worried about bipartisanship, for once I'm looking at bipartisanship. This is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good transition and a way to help out the American people. So on those notes, I'm very, very excited. Go look at the Southland window of your feet. So it's interesting. Does anyone out there think that this is not a good bill? A bill that provide us with a better future? How would you like to see the prison system be? We talk about it all the time on here. One of my big stances is that victimless crimes deserves no. If there's no one out there that was a victim of your actions, then I'm not certain as somebody should be thrown into a cage or be threatened with violence. This goes for seatbelt laws. This goes for drug charges. This goes for a litany of things. And so, when it comes to the reformation on the front end, that's something I would like to see in the future. But we're able to make it easier and allow judges to use their own views or the understanding of the cases and know the impact of the laws that are being broken, being able to judge on that and give a more just punishment or a more just reward for the actions that these people have taken. I think that that's certainly one of the better things. The government is violence. Absolutely agree with you. Government is violence or the threat of violence. That's the only way that they're able to work. Drugs are not victimless. Lynn, who is the victim when somebody chooses to use drugs on them? That's really the big question that's surrounding that. I don't think that we can really say, you know, when this person does drugs, inherently the part of doing drugs is what makes a victim of others. I think that certainly you can say the indirect victims, right? Somebody who does drugs and then they become a lazy piece of crap. They don't do anything. They go bankrupt. They do a lot of egregious things themselves, and that's because of the drugs. And so it's an indirect thing where they've prioritized drug use over their responsibilities, over their priorities, and that's certainly an issue. But it's not incumbent upon us to tell them, hey, you can't do that, right? Drugs breed violence. I think it's more than just drugs that are breeding violence, right? I don't think that it's necessarily the drugs that are doing this. When it comes to what breeds violence, I think even the political discourse that we have, when people don't have responsibility for themselves, they want to control others, that becomes violence. That in itself is where the violence stems from. When people want to control another and the refusal thereof, right? Whether you want to talk about the actual acts of enslaving somebody, or if it's the metaphorical slavery by saying you can't do this anymore. If you do this, we'll throw you into shackles and cage. Until you get corporations and foreign state lobbyists out of the political process, you'll never make head. I think you're onto something there, and I think that the grounds for how we remove the corporations and the foreign state lobbyists is to reduce the power of the legislative branch, reduce the power of the executive branch to exactly what was enumerated and afforded to them or delegated to them. There were 9 people on crack on 9/11. Drugs are 99.14 problems, and 97% of statistics are made up on the spot. Okay. That's like saying guns breed violence. Yes, exactly right, Titus. Exactly right. Drugs don't breed violence, and neither do guns. These are tools. These are things these are consumable goods or tools, and really the outcome of their actions based upon human user. It's not about the actual inanimate object. Serious. So it is what it is. I think certainly we do need a heavier reform with them. But this step that we're taking here, see what I can pull up. All right, rand.org, talking about the same article. Oh, no. That one. Washington Examiner got written. That's degenerate. What is degenerate? I still refer to lobbyists for general. You want to call in and elaborate on the lobbyist? Would love to hear that. I think that I don't recall it well enough to be able to talk about it, but I believe that he did do some reformation that, for I think 5 years after you get out of office, out of DC position, that you can't be a lobbyist and you can't come from one branch of the government and then come in and influence the other branches of the bonus. So I agree. The compounds are taken to elicit an effect of intoxication, right? The same as coffee, the same as alcohol, the same as even tobacco, right? We do all these things and we want this form of intoxication. We want this form of changing and altering the way that our minds function, right? Caffeine, something as simple as caffeine, which is the most used drug here in America, is certainly one of those drugs that does elicit an effect on people. It does alter the way that you function, the way that your body works. And so, I think that we need to understand that just because it affects you in a different way doesn't mean that way is inherently creating a victim out of someone. That's correct. Okay. See, I remember hearing about that, and I'm glad that you brought that up. But I don't think that that's The issue becomes is that we are now saying it's okay to be a lobbyist. It's okay to work with the legislators in order to pass bills that maybe were not exactly the way that would be best for America, but be better for this market or for this competitor within the market. And you build the corporate greed in that. And so by allowing it, I think that it's certainly an issue. By allowing it and just saying, look, you have to have 5 years in the interim, it's not enough to remove that issue as it is. Why does everyone want to be high? So for when you talk about being high, if you're talking about marijuana, there's certainly a lot of positive things that can happen for people. So people with PTSD, people who have issues sleeping, there's glaucoma, there's studies that are talking about cancer patients and everything else. So with understanding that marijuana has a large positive effect for a lot of different, there's certainly a necessity there on the medicinal side before we even get into the recreational. Right? We need to get money out of politics. You use that D word. I'm not a fan of democracy. Democracy fails people. Democracy fails because it creates mob rule. I think that we need to get back to our constitutional republic, and that would require large changes in ways that everything is structured and actually ensuring that the Constitution is adhered to, but it is what it is. The Social Security Administration has already used Social Security insurance as a jailbird pension. Yep. No, they are. They really are. And that was something that I wanted to bring up with you guys later on tonight. I had a really long, in-depth discussion. Well, in-depth. I had a long discussion with a couple of people about Social Security, and I realized that it's the socialist sacred cow for the generation older than mine. It is that sacred cow. Don't touch it. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about reducing it or anything. I obtained marijuana is helpful until you look at. So even with the statistics, right? And Joe Rogan breaks down a lot of these statistics. Every statistic that I've ever seen that portrays marijuana usage in a bad light also says, hey, this isn't inherently because of marijuana. This isn't inherent because of this. And so they pump it together just for the ease of it. But when you break it down and you actually read finer detail, they even themselves say, hey, we can't really prove. Sure, that somebody has marijuana in their system and they got into a car accident. Was that person actively under the influence of marijuana, or was it just the residual marijuana from in their system when they were at home and they were safely and orderly? There's the discussion around that, because marijuana does last in your system a lot longer than, say, alcohol does. So there's a lot there. Yes, you're absolutely right. Social Security has an older population with no other options. They become because of that. Yes, because the society, right? Because back in, what was it, like 1912 or something? That was when Social Security started up. And so once Social Security started up, it made people dependent because they knew that they were going to get a retirement out of it. And so when they were paying for the generation that was on Social Security, they were like, I paid into it, I should receive out. And that line of reason causes it to continue, and it becomes an unstoppable object. If everybody will always want it and desire it. Welcome in, Irish. Irish, since you are, the number one fan around here, you see down there in the bottom left, we do have a call-in number now. So if you want to hop in and you want to call in and spread your words of wisdom or dissent or agree, you are more than welcome to anytime that number. So usually to give a refresh for everybody, whenever that number is up, it's always available for you to call in. I'm usually going to talk about a topic, drop my spiel on it, if you will, and then open it up for you guys to agree, dissent, or provide more information. or even if it's just to provide a correction. So that's always available for you guys. Whenever that number is up, you guys are free to call in. So hopefully you guys will start utilizing that, and that will help us project into a better show with more discourse, with more discussion and insight. So I don't want it to be an echo chamber. I don't want it to be just me saying things, everyone disagreeing with it, and not being able to call in. So that was the basis behind it. But of course, if you agree and you want to just chime in and say some more, free to do so as well. All right. So I think I've caught up on the comments. So it's been an interesting thing to see this this prison reform being brought up. I know that looking at in the recent past, right, we saw Kim Kardashian come in, and she was discussing with the president about some prison. The lady was pardoned, or commuted, sorry. And so from there, Kanye West goes in and he brought up prison reform. And so you had two celebrities coming in, and prison reform was kind of being pushed onto the front burners. And now we're finally coming out, and we're seeing come out. And you know, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see, even if it is bipartisan, because it is better for America, I believe, in a large sense. Instead of just trying to set standards for every single thing, understanding that each case is a little bit different. Each case should be weighed differently. So that means that the ramifications, the rewards for the punishments, should be able to vary in the same way. So with that large part, my biggest takeaway was the judges having their own little bit of a jurisdiction over crimes and punishment of those. So that's a good piece. I did have, and I was hoping that she was going to hop in, Lady Fritzer. If she comes in here, one of the things that she really wanted to talk about, from one of the times in which she disagreed with me, shame on her, but it is what it is. When she called in, she dissented with me, and she said that I don't understand evil. And so she wanted me to take a little bit of time. And, you know, anytime you guys ask me to cover something, I want to oblige as quickly as possible. So we were talking about this morning. So I wanted to talk about what evil was, as somebody who's not necessarily a believer, as somebody who doesn't believe in commandments. So what is evil within my, say, secular view? And how do I obtain views? So my views of objectivity on evil comes from, you know, the objectivity, and it comes from the non-aggression principle. So consent is a huge thing. Consent is always a huge thing when it comes to, is there a crime, is there infringement. So evil would be to control somebody, to take away their ability to consent, the ability to, whenever you try to subvert or manipulate people into following blindly into you, right? Cults would obviously be under this idea, right? If you have people blindly following you, it may not be inherently on the person that is the leader, right? This is also incumbent upon each of the followers to make sure that they're following through on these things. So I wanted to go through and talk about a couple of the specifics of what evil atrocities are still legal in the country right now, and actually have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation about. So with understanding consent, with understanding that all lives matter, it's not a racist thing, saying that every single life, regardless of race, ethnicity, nationality, gender, sexual orientation, whatever, everyone is equal in the way that all lives are equal. That they are all, upon birth, bestowed upon their creator the right to life, liberty, and happiness. That means that until they have actually put somebody else's life at risk, it is immoral and evil to take their lives. So right now in this country, this day, we have an evil atrocity that is not only allowed, but is also funded by the general public through taxation, and that is abortion. So, you know, on those grounds, because at the point of conception, by biology standards, you have a separate person at that very moment, at conception, because they have a separate strand of DNA. So understanding where DNA begins, understand that in accordance with science, that's where life begins. I think that it's immoral that we have a system, we have a process in which people are having their lives taken away from them. And for a vast majority of these is for convenience, right? Whenever it's, hey, I can't afford to have a kid. Hey, I didn't know that I would have a child out of having unprotected sex, or I had protected sex and, we had a child was created out of this. It really doesn't matter. If it's out of convenience, there's really no necessity there. And so that's certainly a large swath of the abortions that are committed, well over 90%. And whenever you have this conversation, you always want to talk about one evil and compare and say that one evil is justified with the other evil. Of course, that is the rape statistic, right? The 1% of abortion statistic is that these are babies that were created from rape cases. It's obviously a tragedy. It's catastrophic to see that life is being created out of something so egregious and reprehensible. But just because somebody does something evil doesn't mean that you should take the authority and take the life of another, right? So you have evil action A, which was somebody foregoing consent, another adult or another person, and atrocity against them. So the reaction is another atrocity, another person in their life. I looking at it on the evil plane, right? Those both of those acts are comparable in a large way. So that's one evil atrocity that's still allowed in America today. And I think that a lot of people are wouldn't say, how do I word this? They're trying to boost and boast about the abortions because they want to claim that it's somehow the right of a person to take the right of another. And so in that way, they're really demonstrating evil atrocity is acceptable. And so I think that certainly there are countries out there like Iceland that go against this. They've banned abortion, so that's the right way. So it is what it is on that note. Some other evil atrocities happening. When people advocate for socialism, right? Whether it is Social Security or whether it's imparting Medicare for all or quote unquote free education from Ocasio-Cortez, whenever you're pushing for something like that, I think that those are inherently equal as well. Because it's not that these systems are actually free, these are being a burden on others. And so when somebody disagrees and they're unable to opt out, what you are doing is you're using the government as an entity of force and violence and the threat of violence in order to obtain your goals and you think will be the right way. And so on the grounds of, I want it this way, so I'm going to take you, is certainly an evil ideology and is certainly something we should be looking at in a much more clear light and a much more realistic light. When it comes to trying to fund these things, if we had a free clinic that provides free healthcare to others and it only relies on charities and donations to it, it's impossible to say that organization is but if that organization is instead swiping people's credit cards and taking 10 cents off of every transaction that they're doing, or they're taking it from other people, right, we would say that they're immoral. But because for some reason, whenever we have the middle ground of the government, which is in essence an evil entity, somehow it becomes a just system, and we say this is the price you pay for living in a civilized society. And I disagree vehemently with that. I think a civilized society should be able to take care of their own without force. But it is what it is. Don't abort that anchor. Um, so, so there's another atrocity, right? Whenever we see entitlements or welfare, there's certainly, regardless of the good of the outcome, regardless of how good the outcome is, how much it serves others, I think that when you go to the root of it, when the principle, this is where those evils occur. That's the big focal point. A lot of libertarians, myself included. So, understanding those, right? Those are ideologies. Now we can get into the actual actions of evil. So, of course, right, we have people that commit actions all the time, and people often want to political affiliation with them. So, I mean, look at throughout this year, we've seen people going on to CNN, MSNBC, all the different news networks, and they're talking about, oh my God, it's such a tragedy. This person who was a Trump supporter did this. It's obviously a referendum Trump, or this person did this and they were Bernie supporter, Hillary supporter. Obviously, a referendum on them, and we have to understand that you have to connect those two. But whenever somebody is committing an evil action, it is their decision. It is their choice. They are the evil one. And just because you commit an evil action does not mean that you are. Let's use the morality ban. Heard plenty of people talk about this, right? So if you do good and you do bad, right, they negate each other, and you have a positive balance at the end of life. Doing an evil action, depending on the severity of it, depending on the impact that it creates, doesn't make you an evil person, but it can say that you have an evil ideology within you. You lack compassion when it comes to protecting the life of others. You don't care about women, so you rape them, or whatever it is, right? So it's that ideology that they, within their spectrum of within portions of their ideologies, right, are parts that are evil, but that make everything that they view as evil. So we can really, like, evil is something that infiltrates everything. It really does. Because there's a good choice, there's a moral choice, and there's a wrong choice, evil choice. And so in a lot of ways, people want to say that morality is subjective. And I can agree with that in some sense. Sometimes things can appear to be, is that immoral or is it moral? And sometimes we just have to understand some of those are just amoral, without morality. So it's to get onto give a description of that, right? For somebody to be lazy, to spend their Saturday and not do anything, lay around on the couch, watch TV, and do nothing. Is that a moral action or is that an immoral action? It's neither. Immoral action. They didn't hurt anybody, but they weren't bettering it. On those grounds, it would be an amoral action. But when it's actually affecting others, it's a little bit more. It's a little more difficult to say that it's subjective. You provide a happy somebody else. You treat them and you make them feel better about themselves. That would be obviously a moral action, helping out you're not only raising your self-esteem, but your view of yourself. You're also, helping them benefit. So, I think that really, when it comes down to it, morality, on the grander scheme of things, is certainly an objective. And I don't gotta full screen this. Sharia law will make the definition of evil. Yeah, so I mean, Sharia law is certainly something that I would say is, I talk about Islam occasionally, and I talk about Islam as an objective evil religion. It's an objective evil ideology because it does displace people within their value system based on their gender or their religious preference, and I think that's certainly something to have as a measuring stick. So yes, I agree, I completely. It could be judged as immoral, but so again, that's just plain Skippy. So that's going off of the religious, right? That's going off the commandments of sloth. But when I off of my grounds, off the grounds in which I was discussing morality from non-aggression principle, the objectivism, Ayn Rand, that would be neither. It wouldn't be immoral. And so it's having those clear lines and what that is really going to help these. So, I think that it really does depend upon the person of where they get their morality from. Yes, but Hermit, welcome in, my good sir. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while, and I apologize. Last time I saw you commenting, I didn't look at the feed until after we'd finished up. Apologize for that. But going back to the evil discussion, right? One thing that we've all agreed on, everyone in the 21st century has agreed that slavery is invincible. Slavery has no purpose or has no justification in a civilized world. Right? That's something that we've all agreed on. But even here in this society right now, we allow and we perpetuate slavery. How do we do that? We'll perpetuate that through taking of the fruits of the labors of another to provide for another, right? Slavery and socialism are inherent, right? Slavery may be an extreme term for this. Feed is choppy on you. With a cane. When it comes to that, even our 16th Amendment here in America justifies and allows for some form of slavery, depending on the percentage of your income that is taken. It just allows for the government from the fruits of your labor, from the contract that you take a percentage income tax, percentage of that. So you are some percent slave with that regard. And so looking at that, you can even see that now in America we have slavery. And so this is one of the things that I really wanted to bring to the light for people, is that no matter how moral you think, it still has a lot of growth to go through to being a better country, and by not threatening people with stuff without justification of lived in my society. Now I'm taking until we get rid of these things off of charities and donations of others, goodwill and the good fortune. We still have to point at every instance in our society, have to stand together, really diminish that as much. So I want to open up the phone lines for you guys again. If you guys want to call in and you guys want to talk about evil in your own regard and how it's affecting you, or what your views on this are. Oh, I got 3 views on Periscope. Did we drop everything? Looks like we did drop everyone. That's fine. So feel free if you guys want to call in. The number is up there. 802-671-5328. Feel free to call in and let me know on your thoughts on what evil atrocities are allowed in this. What evil you stand against, or your views on what I'm saying. If I'm so far off of base by thinking that evil, good versus evil is certainly an objective standard. Thanks, Lynn. It's showing me as like 2 people. Does that mean the wife can call in? Yes, the wife can. No, the wife cannot call in. Because she comes in anyways. That is what it is. This is. So it's saying you're still here, but I'm only showing 1 live viewer, and that's Il Ponzi. Struggling here. Struggling. I don't know. Has it been dropping rapidly like that, or have we just been maintaining such a low number? kind of a weird thing. But it is what it is. So I'm over it. We'll accept that I'm tied up for. Oh, you're good, Fritzer. I appreciate it. I hope that I'm at least covering covering the evil discussion in the way that you wanted to. You're stifling my First Amendment. See, even my wife doesn't understand how the First Amendment. She thinks that it's private company versus the individual. No, it is government. It is purely the government that is protected or restrained from violating the. Yeah, this is really wonky. So I'll show you guys. So I'm showing on Periscope only 2 people, and none of those are you guys. Kind of fun. Now you have more viewers than that. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with Periscope. Maybe I'm getting my viewers blocked a little bit. Diminish me because I'm coming out and talking about the evil atrocities. While we talk about evil, is it moral or immoral for a private company to constrict the production or the progress of a company entity on the platform? This is where we get into the roots and the weeds of things. Always fun. I don't think evil is seen every day. I keep that word for special people. That's an interesting way of looking at things. So I think that certainly, right? So evil can both be a noun and an adjective. And I think that what you're referring to is you're saying once you've achieved this certain level of committing evil acts or atrocity, that's when you'll be evil, and you safeguard that term, keep its value by not utilizing it too much, such as like what the left has done with the racist, with Nazi, with fascist, with xenophobe, homophobe, transphobe. All those terms, they're just white noise now. And so I think you want to safeguard that term. I agree with you on that. I want to safeguard that word as well. But the discussion came up, and it was, what do I understand evil? Do I understand the narrative of what it is? Do I understand it in entirety? And so when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about less of the noun in the way that you are. I'm talking more of the adjective, and that is to describe acts and to understand where the line of good versus evil. Certainly, it is the buzzword, if you will, for tonight's discussion. If they're breaking an agreement, exactly right. And General Eaton agrees as well. So as long as they don't put this in their contract that stifle my numbers, right as rain. I'm gonna close out and see if that. You know what? I think I know what it is. So my wife is on the Periscope feed via my phone or via her phone, and so I think that's what's causing the mix-up on this. So the wonderful wife tuning in, causing the issue. But I want to hear from you guys. I do want to hear from you guys. I'm going to test this system out a little bit. I haven't tested it streaming. So if you guys want to call in real quick, it is not my personal number. Don't worry. Just the line for the Bearded Truth Show. You are more than free to call in 802-671-5328. I want to hear your views on this entire topic, which is certainly a massive topic in which we can go in any direction at all, cover it. The idea of good versus evil, the idea of what is evil. Say hey if you're watching live. Don't blame the wife. Oh, I have to blame the wife. I have to. If the wife's getting involved, she deserves some blame. But it is what it is. So we talked a little bit about the prison reform, and we talked about good versus evil. And I really some other changes that we're going to be seeing is probably on Tuesday nights, probably the second half of the Tuesday night show. I'm going to open this up just for any discussion whatsoever. any discussion that you guys want to have and hold, you guys will be more than free to call in and cover anything under the sun. So if you guys listen to somebody like Dennis Prager, he for the Friday third hour, I think it was. Yeah, because the Friday second hour is the happiness hour, and then after that is everything under the sun hour. You guys were local to here, we also have that on Friday nights here with the Bobby Mack Show. So all day Friday, for the 4 hours that he's on, he has anything and everything under the sun. So that's what we'll be looking towards on the Tuesday night show. So I'm excited for that. Be able to allow you guys to come in, talk about the different things. You guys can use my platform in order to grandstand and share something that's going on, whether it's an activist thing, down your marching, protesting, counter protesting event coming on in your local area, and you want to give a heads up and give a shout out and hope that more people will be able to get involved. Or if it's you want to talk about a piece of legislation that's coming that I've missed, right? This is a way for you guys to be able to control the show in your own capacity. That would be a beautiful thing in the long. So, but I'm hoping that with some of the changes that we're making, that we'll be seeing a brighter future for this show. I want to have more input from. Eventually, we want to be able to get a platform where everyone who follows the Bearded Truth can come in and have a discussion, continue on discourse, or dissent from each other, and grow yourself. That's what I've been advocating for. That see people. That can only be done. We actually put ourselves into. I wouldn't say discourse. Got it. So I want to thank you guys for all coming in tonight. I will have to test out the phone line at a later time, I guess. No one came in and was brave enough to hop in on the stream tonight or hop in on the phone line tonight. It may be my fault, probably not your guys' fault, for not having an open specific enough within a broad enough territory. You guys call it. I will work on that. I will take the blame for tonight's show. We will have another show, of course, and I will hope that everyone will come in. Kimmy, welcome in. I never got to ask Hermit if the feed got any better, but as I don't think the feed did get any better, so I apologize for that. Yeah, I just came checked. Still kind of choppy, so it is what it is. I apologize for that. Hopefully, you guys aren't having the choppiness there either. Kimmy, so we were talking just a second ago. If you want to call in, the phone number is down there, and 802-671-5328. More than free to call in. Discuss on what is evil for you. What is your standard for evil? And if you think that society needs to change their optics. So, we're trying to grow the show a little bit, and tonight's the big coming out night. I probably should have spent a little more time making sure I got a lot more smaller stories. I do have the story from last week, the shooting at the bar, in which the hero of the day was killed by the police. So we will be covering that on Tuesday night. You didn't hear choppiness. Perfect. Yeah. So we'll be covering that all on Tuesday night. I want to get into a little bit more of the details of it because, one of the big things that I've always said was that a good guy with a gun is the only way to bad guy with a gun. And in this instance, a good guy with a gun was killed by a police officer for stopping the mass shooting and preventing it. So I think it's certainly a discussion worth having. And so we'll be covering that Tuesday night. But other than that, I hope that everyone had a great weekend. You spent some time with your family and spent times with the cherish. If you didn't, still got a couple hours left, give them a phone call, let them know that you still love them and care about them. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. I'm going to hop off of here. I appreciate you all for joining in. I am Mr. Merca, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Thank you guys all for joining. And I will see you guys Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Where we continue on having open discussions. And thank you all once again for all your support, for your likes, your retweets, your shares, and your support. It really means a lot to me. I will see you guys Tuesday night, 7 p.m. I am Mr. Merca, Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Thank you. Have a great night.